So let's get started. I do most of my energy work with dowsing. And dowsing is simply nothing more than the movement of a physical object or physical tool, such as this pendulum right here, which is made out of a bullet. And this is what I always use because I'm comfortable with it and I like it. It just fits my personality and I use what fits me. You may not want to do that. That's okay. Use whatever you're comfortable with. In many of the films I make, I use what I call a bobber that moves like this. But today we're just going to be using a pendulum. And really that's all that's needed. Now there's nothing magical about it. All it's for is to help focus intent. So since negative spiritual influence is a major factor in why evil exists, and also another major factor is because good people do nothing, let's give you a way to do something and let's get started. So we want to address whatever project that you are working on today. I am going to direct this to human trafficking, but you can adapt it to whatever your need is. So all I'm going to do here is ask my spirit guide to get involved to help us out, because I work with the spirit world. I really don't do anything on my own. I just ask that it be done, because we have a tremendous amount of contact and help from the spirit world if we will just use it. So I decided to put it to use. So with a pendulum, this is a yes, this is a no, this is a clockwise circle, which means we are sending energy, and this is a counterclockwise circle, which means we are removing energy. That's all explanation we have time for. We have other films giving you to this in more detail. So I'm going to ask my spirit guide if they're willing and able to get involved here today. And the answer is yes. Any reason not to? And the answer is no. Is this a good thing to do? Yes, it is. Okay, there's not really any need to ask any more questions. I usually only ask 2 questions of any information I get. Number 1 is, does it work? And number 2 is, does it help? There's really no need to ask the 3rd question. Okay? So I'm going to ask my spirit guide here, actually thank him more than anything else, to go to the places that you're focusing on here and take away the negative spirit guides that any of these abusive people may have, or any of the victims for that matter. And take away any negative entities of either the abuser or the victim. Take them to the other side. Now watch this. Give them appropriate treatment, send them on where they're going. What you just saw, folks, was a mass depossession. I do it about every week somewhere for an audience across America. And we get results. How do we know? Well, we get feedback. Now, I realize that may be stretching your belief system a bit, but that's okay, because once the mind is expanded, it can never return to its original size. So I do a lot of things to help expand people's minds. The next thing we're going to do is address demonic forces. Now, at the end of this film, we're going to show you the cover of a little book I wrote called Techniques That Work for Me. In that is a bare bones, no nonsense, down to earth, blunt and to the point description of how to make these changes. Right now I'm going to ask if there are demonic forces involved in this, and I can assure you that there are. So what I would like to do is invite in what I call our spirit doctors. This is a terminology that I borrowed from the first person was Eugene Murray, who wrote the book on exorcism. I learned a lot from the man. And the term that he used was spirit doctors. And I know this sounds extremely simple to you, but we have so much evidence to back it up. All I'm going to do is ask if the spirit doctors are willing to remove the demonic forces from the places of abuse that you're focusing this, and the answer is yes. So I'm simply going to ask to take any demonic forces of any form, name, or description, take them to the proper dimension, lock them up so they can never return or do any harm. Now, you saw it move. Now, if you watched real carefully and you're skeptical, you're going to say, he moved that with his hand. Yeah, I know my hand moved. It always does when this thing moves from one direction to another. But I'm not the one moving it. It's the one moving my hand. What it is, it's simply an energy or a power or whatever you might want to call it that flows through my body and causes this. I don't get into real detailed descriptions. Like I say, I simply ask two questions. One is, does it work? Next, does it help? This works and it helps. I see no reason to go further. Mark Twain is reported to have said, "We do not reverence the rainbow as the savage does, because we have studied it, we understand it, we know what caused it." He said, "We have lost as much as we have gained by prying into the matter." So I don't really pry into the matters all that deeply, just enough to get the job done. The next thing I would like to do is to remove what we call negative energetic patterns. Because, scientifically stated, energy is impressed upon matter. Now, I would like to give you 3 simple principles upon which all my work is based. Number 1 is, all things are composed of energy, and the intelligent human mind has the ability to change energy. Number 2, energy is impressed upon matter. And number 3, energy follows thought. Now, I know I repeat these a number of places in different films and so on, but the reason I do is I want to make sure that folks understand how simple it is. Also, you might notice that some of the things in here are similar to other films. Yes, that's true, they are. Because whether I'm working on a person for a sore tooth or a cancer or a thyroid that doesn't work, I go through about the same list of things that would affect them. It changes a little bit, but there are a lot of similarities. Well, what I have found is I can stand for 2 days and talk to audiences and explain all this in great detail, answer all the questions, and somebody is going to shake hands as they walk out the door and say, "How can I use this to work on my family?" And I wonder where they've been for the past 2 days, because I gave them the best information I had, but for some reason I didn't get it. So if you think I'm putting this real blunt, I am. Please don't be offended by it. It's not intended that way. It's just I found if I don't say it, somebody's going to ask about it.